Girl, you could help that camera does.
I was gonna put it on,
You should. All right.
but I don't know if y'all like the smell. It's a lemon
Well,
sage.
it says, I more sage.
Okay.
Okay, welcome to Ladies Divas.
Is it recording?
Yes, it is.
Oh, ooh, hello.
Oh, mine's on there. Nobody call me. Please don't call my phone.
And y'all said, why they gonna call me right now?
Uh-huh.
She tickled me down. Okay.
All right.
So today we'll be discussing education, the kind of education that we received, and how that positioned us to be where we are today, or what we didn't receive, and how we had to learn. Yeah.
And what we're still trying to learn. I think I will go first on that one. I'm gonna kind of face toward the camera, but it could just be character that's talking and backing up. I think I took myself out again. Yeah. So, we talk about education, and we automatically think about, like book learning. So I want to start talking about life learning, life education, because book learning comes easy for me. It always has. Now, you would think as a student performing well, A's, B's, good citizenship. Back in the day when we had the 1s, 2s, and the 3s for your citizenship, you got to get a little ribbon on your report card. Was it yellow for citizenship?
Green.
And then you got, if your grades were good, you got a little ribbon stapled to your report card. So you always was like getting rewarded. And that always came easy for me, being a child that was always
No, you're fine.
off to myself. So citizenship was gonna be easy because I'm not talking to many people anyway. And just staying safe in my mindset. So I was good with citizenship, and so my grades were good. I did a lot of reading. So I didn't get a lot of exposure outside of just my classroom. Now, my education experience came to a screeching halt when my mother became involved in an organization. It was the trailblazing of non-denomination.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to the 1970s, there were no non-denominations. So we didn't have a technical name before non-denomination. We would just say the body of Christ, because we were all brothers and sisters in Christ, so we're the body of Christ. As reference, God and his church bride and all that. So then the school system with this organization, they felt that our minds needed to be educated under the tutelage of this organization's understanding. So they start having homeschools, Christian schools at different locations. Now we were across the globe technically, but in the United States, we only had one school in Ohio. And so people come from Washington State, upstate New York, was all coming into Ohio to be at this school. Come from different parts of the country. Even the in-laws came up one time from like Georgia or Florida. And so that was a central place to have education, K through 12. But it was small. I mean, my graduating class was 6 students, 3 boys, 3 girls, to get an indication.
Me too.
And so life learning had been really derailed because we started learning only about the salvation, Christianity, the world coming to not so much an end in the rapture, but a new world order going to come into place, and we needed to be really spiritually grounded and connected, so we would be moving in the power of Christ as manifested sons of God. That means we were so connected to God in spirit that we manifested things in our life like Jesus did, right? Mm-hmm. So that was the total focus point, but you're getting older. You're going through teens, you're going through your early 20s and 30s, and the conversation is never shifting on what life is about. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was a haven because I was teased for being black. The kids didn't want to play with me, so we were now ostracized. It was okay to be off because then I didn't have to worry about all that teasing, etc. And but life lessons were really removed from my experience. So we didn't do college. We didn't even think you needed to graduate with high school. So we know college was out. So then how did you get some of that life learning? So I say education for me was the life lessons that I didn't have. So now I'm approaching my mid-30s. And
Over towards you, Julie.
we don't have any life lessons to understand crisis
Yes.
management, the highs and the lows. All I can say is like living on Groundhog Day. Remember that movie, y'all?
Yeah.
It's like
Repeat
every
yourself.
day was the same. We got up,
It
we had a
was.
schedule to either you was on laundry, you was on house cleaning, or you was on gardening and canning. We just did this rotation. And that was the extent of going to school, come home with your after school chores. And if it was in the winter season where there was no more canning or harvesting, then you rotated with cooking the meals, whether you cook breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and laundry. And babysitting other people's kids while they did the cooking and the laundry. So that was the extent of life lessons. And we lived in a secluded community. To give you how secluded we were, Amish community was the neighbors, right? So you're not seeing television. There's no radio. The newspaper came, but what 14-year-old reading the newspaper in a world we don't need to be a part of? So I'm not sure why we got the newspaper. I guess we weren't totally in the dark. Every day the newspaper came, and on North Farm anyway. But anyway, so life lesson I thought was challenged. So then here I am 36, and you got to go on this tangent. I got to learn something. Wow. I'm 36, now I'm starting to compare what I'm seeing other 36ers are doing. And I'm like, wow, this is going to really be a challenge. I got to play catch up. And I found that being frustrating at first. It's like I didn't know where to go. How do I even get started? What do I do? But that was the education that became a process that I think after having a nervous breakdown, trying to do the right thing and dating this guy that just wasn't working. He was a minister, and the whole conversation of premarital sex and sex occurring, and I'm not prepared for this, and it just put me in a real dark space. And in the process of that journey, I was introduced to a psychologist and psychology, and that there was an actual industry where you get that mental health and support and seeing therapists. So that saved me, but it also gave me a whole new world that I knew I could learn from what's going on inside of me. And so I was 36 when the lights started coming on, and you're almost 40. People are established in their careers. They've had several promotions in the last, if you go back a traditional 12 years of probably being post, college.
Yeah.
And now you're standing here. I had to really just let my age go and embrace my education despite my age. And that's the way I got through it. I remember enrolling in college at 33 and just saying, I got to learn. And that was the only institution I knew I could go to learn. I was nervous, but I went through it and started at community college. But my decision to learn really opened up more and more doors for me. I got an all free ride to Wayne State after 2 semesters at the community college and so many other blessings. But I want to just kind of leave the thought that there were some life lessons that I needed to learn. How to deal with crisis, how to deal with ups and downs when things weren't going well. And I was in Chicago, I just lost it because I had no flex muscle on how to deal with adversity. I had nothing to draw upon. And yes, we say we prayed. I had a good faith life, but sometimes it becomes just the routine. But I had not been experiencing a real powerful, because you never had to apply to anything in essence.
Right.
So that was, I would say, the life lessons in a whole new 22-year journey now, 22 years almost. A new journey had to begin for me to actually blossom into a woman, which I would say aging with grace and becoming women of power and wisdom, because we're at a stage now where a lot of life experiences could have transpired. We're not guaranteed they could have, but more than likely they would have. But being secluded and then reintroduced to a society norm, it has been a real learning curve to understand life lessons and to find a place of being grounded. So that was my experience, and now things are starting to make sense. But there was definitely a deficit, and it impacted some of your my confidence. Did I have confidence to do? Because you look around and people are doing this, you're like, oh, can I do that? And finally, you just had to accept. You know what? They had a head start, and I got to start where I am, but I can't stay here. So that's how I would look at my education. I mean, we did the K through 12, graduated with a high school diploma, but the life lessons were totally removed. And then to take another layer, we're in an all-white community. I'm now stripped of all of my understanding of the Black experience, not even aware what was happening in the 70s, post Dr. King's assassination, the Malcolm X and all this. All that whole chapter was removed from my, because we're all around white people. So life lessons to become not just an adult woman, but then it's only been as of 2015 for me, which is 6 years. This last month made 6 years that I would say I became educated as a Black woman. And that's when we went down to Selma, Alabama. I took that bus ride, March 2015. And I was like, oh my God, all this went down?
Right.
And then I began to understand. I heard people who were living that experience as students, and now they were like 60 years old, and this is what was happening. I was like, wow. I was just like floored. So life lessons and life education is what I would say this last decade has been for me. And like I said, in the last 6 years, understanding myself as a Black woman. And so yeah, that's my education experience. It had some challenges. It really impacted esteem, value, confidence. But I can see where I know I've come full circle now. I now embrace my learning from a place of anticipation, excitement versus concern about can I get it or can I not, or I didn't look at my age at all. So I don't even use my age anymore because that's just not where I am.
Well, I think my education is sort of different. I mean, I felt like school to me was just memory, just memorize it just to get through it. But as far as life lessons, education, I felt like I was 18 and I was 20. But even when I was like 13 and just growing from, a teenager to a woman, I didn't feel like I really knew what I was really doing. I was just going through it. And you're at this age and, people like you. And I'm like, I don't even know why they like me. But, I mean, your body's changing, things is happening. But I did get into the travel industry, and that helped me at least get some lessons. I felt like traveling gave me a lot of, I started seeing things different. I started learning about different cultures, and I was like, okay, travel. I felt like people in the world should travel because it does teach you so much about all kinds of races of people. I'm going out of the country, and I'm like back then you were called, you were the, what were they calling you? No, you were like the foreigner when you went in the line. That was my first time. I'm like, what? I'm the foreigner? I've never been a foreigner before. But I think that sort of helped me start just learning different things. And then as I kept getting older, I postponed having kids because I was like, no, not ready for that. Because that's a whole lesson in itself too, that I don't think I was ready to see. And then when I finally did, you like sort of going through life. So you just start as you're learning, like, okay, I got to make some changes because some of the things that I had seen in my past, you start realizing, hey, they're affecting me as I'm getting older. And I gotta learn fast because, and so I actually had to invest money in myself. And, you tell people you spend money to go do what, take a retreat or something. And I'm like, well, you would spend money to go to college to get information. I need to get information so I can be a better person. So I remember, going and doing a core 3 course, on myself, just learning and learning. So to me, I feel like this last, maybe 10 years, not even 10, I would say maybe like the last 5 or 6. They died in what, 2011. So right around 2011, yeah, I guess it has been like, you've been like trying to work on yourself and learn who you are and be a better you from everything you learn. Like you said, the school was like, you go to school, you didn't even need to learn to get a degree because the world was going to end. So what I need to do anything for if it was going to end? And then you have to realize, well, the world ain't ending, so I got to do something.
Right.
And so then you have to like jump in.
Especially in 1976, it was like 1976 will be the big thing, and that was the same way people felt about 1999 and the Y2K. And so we were never committing to learn because any moment in time, this whole world's going to end.
It's gonna end. So
And then
I'm
you
not
have a
doing anything.
realization, oh wow, I need to learn something. I'm gonna
Right.
be here.
It's
a
not
little
ending
bit.
fast enough. I'm still here. That's why I got
And it's just
that.
and the definition of ending was just incorrect. It wasn't ending. The way of doing things was coming to an end, which we are now having the opportunity to see and experience what was being told. Whereas my level of education, I went through the whole public school system because they had gone off to school, but I didn't. I actually went through the public school system, and I graduated high school and all. But I was still in the confines of the whole Christian belief system. And therefore, there was a lot of things that, even though they weren't exposed, I was exposed, but then at the same time, not really allowed to be a part or be actively involved in. I knew about the whole the crisis that was amongst our race and what we were going through. I was always amazed that I never saw a lot of Dr. King on television in my home, and we had TV, but it was almost as though we were, as they say, in the world but not of the world. Therefore, you were never allowing yourself to be involved with things. And I used to wonder about that because I knew he was a minister. And because he was a minister, he felt like it was God's will to him, and actually his gift to him to make life better here. But see, if you don't think you're going to be here and you're going to go somewhere else, you don't invest in changing things here. And I feel like for me, I can see things in my life still to today, the choices and how I make decisions, because I have never really anchored into life. I've just moved through life, and that has been something that has really troubled me, because things are coming up, and I'm being honest and addressing them. And I've been wanting to know, how do you make decisions, Regina? How do you come to a decision? How do you make a choice? What motivates you and move you? Because you just kind of move through life. And I'm not interested in moving through life, because I actually have seen what that has even done to my physical body. Me just moving through life is like everything was just like, and it's like, whoa, hold up. Like it's shutting down. And so education, we were not given a good sense of self-esteem and self-worth and proud of who we were as a Black person, as a Black woman. And the culture that we were in the Christian group we were in, it was majority of whites. Yeah. And therefore, I mean, I knew I would stand up to some things that was said and done, because like I said, had been brought through the Detroit Public School, so I knew some things, and I knew about Selma and all of those things. But to actually know what that was like for people, I didn't have anyone, even in my immediate group and my extended family. I didn't have a lot of aunts and uncles that had that experience where they could even share that with us, what that was like. Everything was hid under religion, and we just stayed in our bubble of Christianity. And I had a conversation about 2 months ago with an aunt. I say she's my favorite aunt. I just love her, because even though her husband is a minister and she's in Church of God in Christ, she is the one that is the most open to me. If I want to have a conversation, I can talk to her about anything and everything. She just never come across as this real religious person. And I got to hear her side of the story of how things was, just her living in St. Louis.
Right. See, she had a Southern experience.
She had an experience. And she, even when she imparts information to her grandchildren, it's based on her experience and what she wants to prepare them for and to be aware of. And she said that they'll say, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't tell them that. She said, no. They need to know that. They need to know this. And she was telling me about how she had a brother who was working. He had a job. He had gotten a pretty good job. And he was making good money. She said he was making good money. And he went out and bought himself a motorcycle. And back in that day, they didn't like Black people having nothing, being able to get anything. And so here he has this motorcycle. And it was how you get it. What, all this, how they do. but somehow riding the bike at night in the dark, he hit one of the cows and killed this person's cow. And they found out who did it, and they came to her parents' house and told her how much money that they had better give them, and how much and how soon they wanted that. And that, I mean, that was some serious money back then, and wanted it like in less than 3 weeks. And they go, where are we going to get that? You're going to get that money. Or they knew they would take their son out. They just knew that. And they did everything in their power because they was looking for him. Where is it? And he's not here. She said, she said they slept in, it wasn't even mattresses. It was material that they stuffed like with stuff, and that was the mattress, and they sleeping on it, and you see it's flat, and they flipping it over to find her brother. And she said it was just terrifying. And I thought, oh my God, you experienced that?
Wow.
And see, I know my dad went through some things, but my dad didn't talk about them a lot. He didn't talk about them. I know he experienced some things, it's just that it was never brought up. But she was telling me some things, and she has used that experience to lay a foundation for her children and her grandchildren today. So I think growing up not being connected with your essence, your source. We have Black History Month, and in the schools they would just repeat the same few little black people. You know, come on, Black History Month. And I love it on Facebook that they're showing you so many more people who have done things for society that was African American. I said, they wait till that lady gets almost, 80, 90 something years old to tell us that she was, the, what is that, the figure?
Mathematician.
Yeah, but they, and that she's the reason why they got on the moon.
Oh, yeah.
I said, see, those are kind of things that was just kept, and it still made it seem like the black race has nothing to offer, and which is so far from the truth.
So how do you think for us, because we were removed from that, for you
That
personally,
affected us.
where do you feel you are today? What's the learning you need today? I mean, when you think about yourself as a woman, you're just going through life. Some like we was making decisions. You stated we never made decisions.
No,
anything.
you just
what
went.
they rendered.
You did more like what I was listening to our program the other night. You make decision based on what you have in front of you. There's like this small limited range of options, and you make a decision. And so I have felt like that's what my life has consisted of, not choices. When you make choices, you coming out of a realm of the heart. You coming out of the realm of the unlimited. You coming out of the realm where you can have anything you want, and you're making a choice. And I thought, oh my God, it was like, that was such an awareness to me, because I know that I have just made decision based on what was in front of me, and never plunging deep enough inside of myself to find out what it is that I really want. Why do I not have what I want? Do you think you can have what you want? What are you concerned about getting what you want? Even though I've done I've spent some money on myself, there's still like that, not pushing past that barrier. And I always hear taking massive action or taking risks. Mine was always about this risk. Well, what does that mean to take a risk? Or what does that look like to take a risk? I keep in my mind got what that's like, and then I don't do anything. And that's what I'm learning now. No, look at that. Ask yourself the question, what does it mean? What does it look like for you? And I'm going to bring something up here that's not exactly education, but it is education. But I was listening to a woman share her story and her work that she does, and she kind of laid out these steps to get to it. And she got to one part in her presentation, and she mentioned that she had lost her mother. I think it's been about maybe 4 or 5 years now, but she had lost her mother. And she said when that happened to her, she was devastated, and she just stopped. And she said for about like 2 years or more, she just couldn't get it together. Everybody was wanting her to feel a certain way. She said she couldn't be that bubbly person. It just so affected her. Now, with her telling her story in that presentation, it hit me really. I said, oh God, I know it hurt me when we lost our mom. But I said to them, those ladies, I said, I just felt like a part of me died. I said, and I felt like a part of me stopped. And I have never felt that what I need thrust me forward. And I said, and I just, like, where is my passion? Where is my heart? Where am I? Who am I? And it took a lot for me to, I won't say it took a lot, but I knew at that time I needed to open my mouth up and say that to these ladies. And I said, and it just came to me that I need to tell this to my sisters. And when the lady who was giving the presentation, she said, I so appreciate you sharing that. She said, and I really felt like that's exactly what you need to do. You do need to say that and share that and see what input or what comes up or what is it that they see or what is it. And it was just like, and that was done on a Wednesday. And trust me, ever since then it's like, oh man, I done put that out there.
Go there. Yeah, that's
But it's like,
powerful,
it was
though.
like, but I needed to do that because it's
I
like,
need to do this. Yeah.
wow, what happened? And when I thought about, and I know my mom did all this she knew to do, but when I think about what we were in, what we were taught, what we believed, and then all of that just like died or stopped with her, and that was not what I was expecting. Although I just felt in my heart that her physical form would eventually probably die out, but it just wasn't like what I was ready for or at that time. And I did not know it so affected me until I heard her telling that story. But I have been asking myself some questions about me addressing my own self, going deep. And I just know this is my time to go. Just asking some questions. And I've been asking myself questions. Let's answer them, Regina. Let's not take on another anything until we answer these questions and know who we are and where we're coming from. So you'll no longer just be making decisions and moving through life, but you live from a place of choice.
That's good.
And you live from your heart and desires and your imagination. So I said, imagination, what have I ever wanted to imagine? Now, I thought, well, I always wanted to be a lab technician or a commercial artist, thought about these things. I was like feeling all that this morning. And I said, let's throw something out there that's way out there. Something you always thought if you could do, you like to do. I said, well, I've always wanted to fly a plane. I always think flying one of them little planes. I always thought that would be so cool. And I just let myself just feel what that was like. Just to fly. That's why I used to fly a kite, because it felt like I was up there with that kite. And so I just said, well, that's one thing I gotta do, or I can do. I'm just gonna start imagining it. Just feel it. Go with it.
That's a great education right there.
That's a great education.
And another one is to go buy me an outfit. If just one little garment, one little piece. Because I don't like nothing about shopping. Because there's some past stuff and I need to break past that one too.
Now, there's so many things. I always say life education is just always
I'm going away clothes. That's why you're keeping all this crap because you don't want to go shop. Let's get up out of here.
That's
Change
good.
the time.
That's
That's
very
a
good.
good life lesson.
I think with me, my life lessons that I didn't get during the part of growing up and then going off to Canton, Ohio to school and not learning who you are as a black person, but dealing with all the conflicts that were coming up that were said about us being black. Little did we know much about Martin Luther King and everything, but we looked at it more so as a day we get to go home, for a long weekend. And an incident had come up where, we were called little black, spirits because they wanted to go home to celebrate this man's holiday. Well, we really didn't know too much about it, but like I said, it was an opportunity to go home. And I remember I used to go to this one girl's house over in Canton. She did live on any farm. They lived in the city, suburbs. And she would play her Barry Manilow and all of this and had the TV. Lori Kapusky.
Oh, wow.
And I remember going, but the guilt that they seemed to have put on you when you were doing certain things, what they call the worldly things.
Mm-hmm.
I was over her house and I got sick as a dog because I'm hearing this music and the TV. I'm like, what is going on? But once, after graduating, I know I cried upon my graduation day because it was like, I finally made it. I'm out of here. I finally get to be me. Yes, several times I had tried to run away because it was just something that just wasn't sitting well with me to the point of saying, this is God. So even though I know I had a great love for God, I knew some things just wasn't lining up with me. And I was always the kind of person who I thought a lot for myself. I thought a lot, but I was always told, you got this free mind, you're just gonna do your own thing. Till I began to suppress that because I thought, okay, there's something wrong with me thinking for myself and wanted to have my own mind, with something bad. But in growing up, and I decided, I said, well, I always wanted to be, I said, if not a flight attendant, an attorney. Wanted to be an attorney. And I remember when I got out of high school, situations happened that because I did not learn about men and different things, you trust everybody. Because when we were on the farm, everybody did something, so you trust everybody. So because I trust certain people, I found myself in situations that were not really the nicest situations, and was taken advantage of a couple times. And out of shame, again, you don't tell anybody what has happened to you. You just try to cover it up and move through it. And I'm just like, no, I got to keep going. So I was the kind of person, I'm going to do me. And it was always said to be wrong, but I've always had this thing, I'm going to do me.
Mm-hmm.
And I might not have done it in the best way of saying it, I'm going to do me, but I was like, I'm going to do me. Because when I finally turned 40, I would say 40, because up until then I was trying to um, identify with a certain look or feel a certain way because I never felt that self-confidence or was told, that you're somebody, you can be anything you want to be, you're this powerful person. And it was always, I just felt less than, even though people would say something, I never felt good about who I was because as a little girl, anything I ever did was something bad. So this person I grew up to be, I just didn't like her. And I remember one day I when I got married the first time, I was like, okay, you either serve Christ or you get married. So I decided I'm getting married. And when I married my husband 6 years later, he passed, and I looked at it as I'm being punished. Here we go. I said I'm gonna marry him, and I turned from God. I didn't go to church like I was, and so he passed away, and I'm pregnant. So I'm looking at everything that I really loved and cared for. I'm gonna lose it because you can't have both. You can't serve Christ and be married or do these things. That's how it was always presented. This is how it is, and you go with this. The other stuff is of the world. You don't need it. And so I struggled with that, and for years and years and years, and then remarried, and things continued because, like I said, I had no foundation on relationships. All I knew is, like I told my mother one day, I said, okay, you said, grow up, you get an education, you get married, you have children. Now what do you do? I've done all that. What is there left to do? And so I was on a quest to find out what is it now for me to do. I mean, I'm raising children the best way I could, because when you're a person who is not certain of yourself and who you are, you can't give that to children. And so I'm trying to come from a point with my one child, hurting at 23, married, divorced, become a mother at 23 all in 1 year. And then a few years, and 10 years later, 6 years later, you get married again. And here you go down this road and nothing is seeming to work because you have no foundation. So I remember one day, I was sitting at home and I was sitting in a chair, and I just decided, I say, I had enough. This is enough. I'm going to be me. I'm going to live who I am. I'm going to take this weave out my hair. I'm going to take this makeup off my face. I'm going to take off this nail, and I am going to embrace who Tricia is. And I remember letting out this loud scream, like I'm done. And when I went, I told my sister about it, and she took me to get my hair done. And at that time, I was only about a size 16, I think I was. Mm-hmm. And in my mind, you would have thought I was a size 28 because that's how I saw myself, as a size 28. And I went to the hair salon, and the lady cut my hair like we call that Fantasia look. And when she got done, she looked at me. She says, "You don't like it?" And because the look on my face was just like puzzled. I'm like, I see my face, and I'm like, no, it's nice. But I'm looking around and there's all these women in there with these short haircuts and they're way larger than I am and they are flaunting themselves. They are just, they know they are the shit. They are getting down. And I'm like, why am I feeling like this? And so I went and I to mom's house and everybody said, oh, you look so pretty. We see your face. And I'm just like, no, this was so foreign. And then my sister wanted to take me out that night. I was so glad we couldn't get in the club or where we was going that night because all I could see was my face. And for years I had covered my face with hair or whatever. So I never had to actually see me. And that was the day I decided I'm gonna find out who Tricia is and I'm gonna fall in love with her. And that's when I said I'm worth the investment. I kept telling myself I'm worth the investment. I took myself through classes. I taught myself with the data entry. I put myself in college to going to be an attorney. I got to a certain part where I said, no, I'm a person of integrity and ethic, and I can't lie to people. And so as I'm doing that, I find myself pregnant with twins, and it's like, okay, so now we're gonna do this. But I kept saying it's more to me than what I'm living. It's more to me than what I'm living. And I have to find who that person is. So like I said, I just kept telling myself I'm worth the investment. And I read books, I did workshops, I did all kind of things to discover who this woman is. And it wasn't until I would say 50, when I turned 50. 45, I had a big divorce party. That set me on my course. Because I said if I can celebrate getting married, I can celebrate my freedom. And I did it just like I had to cater and all that. But as 50 is when I said, I'm 50. I don't have to answer to anybody.
Yeah.
And I am on a roll. I'm going to do what I want to do. My dreams and goals and stuff that I've always wanted to do, I'm going to do it. So when things would come to me, very creative. I had started working with my mom for a while doing her floral designs, but I always had a passion for designing things. And then when I got into doing, the business of doing weddings and birthday stuff, I mean, I did it on a small scale, but then I had stopped. When mom died, I stopped. And it's like, that ain't me. But when I did that one birthday party and everybody raved how you did this, you need to embrace that. And then I knew I have to start embracing those things that bring me pleasure. So I did that. And I used to do hair. And my dad used to say, I'm going to build your hair salon. No, that wasn't my passion. That's not my passion. That's something I did that I was good, but that was not a passion of mine to do hair. And I did that for years. But just even now, where I am now, I'm excited because I get to be me. And when you really discover who you are, I would tell people, I hear people say, I'm my own best friend. I am my own best friend. Mm-hmm. I like Tricia. And I used to tell people they would, missay my name and I would just let them get away with it. It's like, okay. But if you don't pronounce my name right, I'm going to let you know, no, that's not my name. My name is not Trisha or Teresa or any of that. My name is Tricia. And I like that name. I like who I am. And so I carry myself now more with value of who I am and learning to embrace being a Black woman. I love being a Black woman. And I don't like people talking about Black women trying to label us. That's the thing. I say, stop the labeling. We are women. We just happen to be Black, just like other women are a different race, but we are Black women. And it's something good. It's not negative being a Black woman. And that's one thing that I am so excited about, that where I am now, I get to be me. No, I'm not a size 8 or 10 or none of that, but I'm good with me. Yes. Because I make choices for me. I get to live my life on my terms. And the sky is literally, the limit. I can go as far as I want to go. It's up to me what I do. So I'm very excited. Even being able to have these meetings with my sisters, because it's like being with your physical and natural sisters, and everybody's on their own path of what they're learning, who they are, but you come together collectively and share that and support one another. I'm just simply amazed. I'm just simply amazed, and I just like this is the bomb diggity. My children told me don't say that again, but I'm saying anyway. This is the bomb diggity. I'm loving reading about Black women too, because I do a lot more reading about Black women and my heritage and what they went through and how powerful they were, what they discovered and what they created. And that lets you know that same DNA is in me. Mm-hmm. That same DNA is in us. So I know when we really fully awakened to who we are as black women and black men, we're some powerful people, and the world is up for a rude awakening because we are coming back.
Yeah.
One thing listening to the different ones of you all speak, and even though my journey was somewhat different as far as the education part, I also am sitting here amazed at the fact that you guys went from one age of development to another age of development and never was really taught what was taking place in you as a woman. uh, Not no one sitting down telling you what to expect. You just mostly address situations when they arose, but no one prepared you for the changes that was taking place in you physically, emotionally, and mentally.
Just the puberty process.
And to me, I'm listening to this and going, God dang, I'm just finding that amazing. Even though when I lived in the community and I remember wanting to know some things, and I began to read information about what goes on with the woman and what goes on when men and women get together. And I remember one of our sisters not here, but she had to do something. But I remember her saying, "You shouldn't be reading that. We're not supposed to be reading that. You're not about to get married." I said, "I don't have to be married for me to know this. I need to know this. I need to know what's going on in my body." And I just when she did that, I just knew I wasn't gonna let nobody else know about it, because I didn't want to hear what they had to say about it, because they would have said the same thing. But just thinking about me growing up, I was home. So my mom did tell me, and my mom did have that conversation with me, and my mother or our mom gave me a book to read, and you need to know things. Ask me, and she would conversate with me and tell me things. I said, and
So she was a mother then. You
Yes,
had a mother. No.
no,
Regina
mom
had the mother.
I had the
we
mother.
Came
You
back
had
to the elder.
Y'all had the elder. Y'all had
We
the
had the minister
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
elder.
Y'all had that.
She was busy. She was too busy. I mean, I was at the end, so
She was
Karen
But
was
she
pretty
church.
much mine. She had to have paired you off and stuff.
Yeah, see, and I got the mother part, and I got the part that was telling you what was going to be happening, and what, like Drusia said, found herself in situations because of being so trusting, because that's what we had learned. But mom would tell me, I want you to be watchful for this. And I remember so plainly, I'm at school now in Bustle Junior High School. That's a 10-block walk home. And I'm at that store right there on Van Dyke and Kirchman. This guy is talking to me. And he was like 23 or 4, something like that, because he said how old he was, anything. He just talking, and I went off to home. And I remember my mother, when I came in the door, she said, "Sweetheart, I want you to be careful." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I don't want you talking to anybody that's 24 years old, 3, 2, 1. I don't want you talking to no man in his 20s. Don't let them conversate with you, because they're on a whole nother level than where you are." Because I think I was about, 14, 15 or something like that. And I'm thinking, how in the hell did she know that? But she was always aware of things, and she was always sharing these things with me. So I knew these different things. And when I'm listening to you guys, I go, "Oh, y'all missed out
We
on
did
all of
miss
that."
out, because I remember
Well,
when
'cause they said she was the elder
Belita
by
lived
then.
next door.
She was appalled when she didn't know we
Right.
didn't know things.
Right,
Y'all-
because-
y'all
yeah.
wanted to tell y'all
Yeah,
that.
because
Who said that?
But you believe
But
it.
Oh.
Belita was the one was talking to us, and she was saying that you're going to have sex when you get married, and and I kept saying, "No, I'm not." And she said, "Yeah." And I was 16. I was like, "I
No,
don't believe."
she would let us know that you were going to have sex, not only just to become
Right,
pregnant,
but
to
she's.
do- and Tracille and Karen.
I said no. I said I'm gonna be. I said I'm gonna be
only
married.
when I'm about.
I said when I'm married, I'm married. She said, "Well, you'll do when you're married." I said, "No, I can be married a whole year. I don't have to do that."
Sure, yeah,
Because
they
in your
would.
mind, I just couldn't conceive that. And I remember I was
Because
so
it was
upset
so
with her.
sinful and dirty.
But no, it wasn't that. It was just that it was
That too.
foreign.
It was.
It was,
It-
there was no education.
Combination.
Right,
There was
to
no
me,
education.
to me, it was foreign that you're saying I'm gonna do something that's foreign to me, and so
Yeah,
I remember going.
Lack of education.
Right, and
because
I remember
otherwise you would have
going-
been looking forward
Right,
to it.
'cause I
if you
went to
understood
mother, and
that
I-
it was in this right place.
Because I was upset, and I went to mom. I said, "Mom,
Wow.
Auntie Belita said such." She says, "Oh my God," she said, "my naive 16-year-old," and that's when Mama's talked to me. She said, "My naive 16-year-old saying that she gonna be married for a whole year
I remember
and not
that.
have sex."
Yeah.
I remember Brother Ruben said somebody said, "You may wake me." I said, "They gonna wake me out of my sleep."
Yeah.
Now I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I did not
Talk
know.
about education. I'm like, I got to get woke up.
I did not know know that until I was dating Clyde. I was married to Clyde, and he woke me up. And I had Deborah was my friend, and Deborah's like 10 years older than me. And when it would happen, I would always go. I said, Deborah, he woke me up this morning. She said that happened, and only reason why I could tell her because she would help educate me, but not make me feel bad.
Right.
And anything happened, I would tell her. I'm like, they wake up in their sleep. I said, girl, she said, Tricia, yes, but you knew no, and I'm married now, so I had no knowledge that this was gonna happen. And I'm married.
And well, it was funny. Like I say, the education is just that's just
like
life
the education.
education.
Yeah, they have that
And the
strong.
conditioning, I think, was so powerful. And anybody listening to how powerful conditioning can be, that it dictates your thinking and your body performance. So
Yes, it does.
whereas they say you go through puberty, you start having these sexual urges because it was so conditioned in my brain. It didn't happen for me.
Exactly.
It really did not happen for me on a naturally powerful. I started feeling it didn't. It wasn't until after I made conscious decision.
Yeah.
I'm looking to pursue my relationship and my husband, but it wasn't a natural occurrence because we have been conditioned so well. That's why I say these life lessons.
So well.
And we never made choices.
Yeah,
we never made
we were
decisions.
right.
We never did anything that was about a desire, imagination. And that's where sexual energy lies. Sexual energy lies in creativity. So if you have all that shut down, it's not able to manifest. It's not so much a physical thing. It is an exposure of creativity and a person who's passionate, somebody who's in their heart space. Then you get that extra thing because it's designed to fuel the manifestation of those goals. You don't have any. So it's like no gas in the tank. So we
And
was
then
all
just
driving
people
around.
talking, you was heard so long that it was bad. So for me, like when I got married though, I could have, sex with my husband, but I literally afterwards I felt bad. I mean, what was the difference? It was bad and this paper was supposed to make it good all of a sudden, and that didn't happen.
That was a real
times I felt like,
conflict.
ugh.
So I think
oh
when
my
I was
God.
You struggle
because
with
I
that.
was going through that with
See, I didn't have
James, it was
did.
killing me. It just put me. That's why I said I went into a world of depression. I felt like I'm just
that
damaged.
would be hard.
I'm damaged
That would
goods.
be very, very hard.
And then I wasn't married too. Oh my God, it's the end of the world. I just gave up. It was just done.
Yeah.
And then and the things that transpired afterwards, it was just like there was no basis point to process that information other than damnation.
Yeah.
And so I can't see, by the time I came around to get married, a decade later, I had educated, I had gone through a lot of, growth and development. So I was embracing, I was looking forward to it. I was just I was now me. I was a person. I had passion. I had desires. I said, I'm going to go to college and my next 5 years would not be, I remember saying, I won't have any memories. If I keep living like this, I would not have any memories that I would be proud of.
Yes.
Now I'm 33 coming to this awareness. If this is how life continues, and so when I said, I'm going to make something that I can be proud of. And I only had one thing, and I tell everybody there's always one thing you like. You like singing, you like dancing, you like something. And I knew thing I love was reading and learning. So I said, I'm just going to throw myself in that. And it only makes sense. I was just reading and taking these classes. And I remember at the time, Bruce, we weren't dating. He was like, why do you keep doing all these classes? Just go to college. And I was like, oh, that's the thing? Okay, I can go to college. Instead I did the, this computer class, this little class. And so I'm like, okay, I'll go to college. So when I came back, I was like, okay, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to get me a higher education. This next 5 years will have a mile marker that I can be proud of.
Yes.
So no one understands. It wasn't the academic because I was terrorized. Can I go to school and learn in a real classroom in the world?
Right.
And it wasn't
Right.
5 of us. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's 50 people in the class.
Yes.
It was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And but I got through it, and I was like so proud of me. And that's when I knew I can dream, and I can live a life that I had designed. So now
Okay. So the education part coming up was a little struggle because I think in general it started off as a struggle even when I was a child, when I was a little girl. Because I couldn't see well, I was not able to ever see the board. So when mom finally found out I couldn't see and I got glasses like I was in the 4th grade, a lot of that foundation was like,
Yes. Lost.
like, right. So you was like catching up. And so I remember going to get your glasses, went out in this bright sun and you could not see. So when I finally got glasses, I was like, oh my God. Then I thought, oh God, I was I'm like, oh, you see your face, you fell off this stuff. Oh man, it was just really a struggle. So I felt like I was constantly trying to catch up where they were. Because it wasn't like coming home. I probably where I did what I did with my children, grandson. You would come home where your mom helped you, or you sat around, you did your homework. It wasn't that type of thing. So no one actually knew what struggle as far as schooling with not being able to get it. So to fast forward, we all went off to Canton, Ohio, like they mentioned, and I went and I was living with Kimberly. And I never forget, Kim and I had the same class. I think it was biology. I'm almost positive it was. I can't remember. Kim would just read her little notes and she'd lay down and she'd go to sleep. And I'm up to 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. I'm studying, trying to. And we go take this test. Kim get an A, I get a C. I'm like, what the hell? This is crazy. I'm like, something is wrong. This doesn't even make sense. So I'm still struggling. I never get this thought still is in my head today. And I have believed that certain things you take from your family, this one I've taken from Kimberly from my heart. She told me, once you understand something, you'll never forget it. But if you're trying to remember it, you'll forget it. So ever since then, that to me started going through life. It has to make sense. You got to know why you're doing it. It has to have some bearing, because then it'll always make sense to you. You remember, you know why you're doing it. But if you're just trying to remember that word, you're gonna forget it because you don't know why you trying to understand that word or find out what that means, because it just, you didn't get it. So going forward from there, then I was the first daughter to pursue relationship. I was seeing my ex-husband. And of course, I still didn't know all what to expect. But I did get a book and was reading.
Oh, that's right.
And I never forget, my mom knew I had that book under my mattress.
Karen.
My sister Karen. I'm about to say that.
Karen,
So they
no.
made
And
me
she's not here to
feel,
defend
yeah.
herself.
So I made me feel so bad. You reading up on this, and I'm thinking, oh,
That's
I'm thinking I'm supposed to. Well, I thought, and Kim told me you need to know what things is, so it makes sense. So anyway, it wasn't a good thing. I ended up getting married, and it was just that whole relationship was just a lot in itself. Anyway, but I still just didn't know becoming a woman, having children, how to balance it all out, what all that really meant. Well, another thing, being in the body of Christ, I remember this lady named Belle, and she told me I had got pregnant and had my daughter, and I got pregnant again, and I felt like I was following the same steps as my mother. She had a daughter first, I had a daughter first. My daughter was supposed to be born October 2nd, like my older sister, but she came September 28th. I feel like, ooh, good. So then, because my mom already had 10 kids, and I'm thinking about, what's going to happen here. So then I had a miscarriage between my daughter and son, and it was a boy. I never forget my mama telling me that story. But this lady told me, oh, really pray God will give you strength. I didn't need to pray, because I didn't feel like that was nothing for me to be trying to do again. I was good with it. So I went on journey where I ended up having my son. So as times were going, I was working a job, working at jail hustings. You was going to work, you come home, you fix food. But ain't nobody give me no book, how you raise children, what you go. I didn't know anything. I was just going through the motion of what they call life. Because like we're saying, the life did not end. We were not supposed to be coming back into Babylon. That's what we were told. That didn't happen. We came back in the world, and we was like, I had a bet between,
now.
right, I had a bet before I got to that part of it, man, but we had a bet. It was this lady named Linda Edwards and this guy named Carlton McDade and myself. We would all be outside. School is in. We're out of school. So we made a bet. Let's see who can get a job first. So we all get on the bus and we go downtown to fill out applications. Before I got back to the house, they had called my mother about coming to get this job. Well, I wasn't really trying to get that job. I was just playing the game. I wasn't trying to be going to work and get no job. And she told me, yeah, you got to go down there. I don't know nothing about going to work in sales. Nothing. I had to learn all this, but it was this little white lady there who taught me quite well how to sell, how to approach people. No one had told me anything. So you learning, no life lesson. You learn everything as you go, through. There was nothing. You just knew you had to go through. So it was a lot on top, and you kept going, kept building life and things. So it was just a lot in general. And I remember the incident like my sister had. I used to think about them, and I had my hard time in Canton, Ohio anyway. And I was like, this is too much for me. This lady named Marlis Johnson is trying to be my best friend. Well, she did help me a lot, but she did teach me to have confidence, but that I did not have. Because I didn't understand, like Kimberly said, if it did not make any sense, and that life was not making sense to me. So what was the point of all this? It just didn't make any sense. So anyway, moving forward, after being married with my children, I was about 43 years old. I know this one thing, Kimberly again. She told me one day, I'll never forget, I was 43 years old. And I was getting ready to go to work. And she said something to me, why would you just why are you just going to work and taking care of your kids? And I was going to work, come home, I was cutting grass. I was married. Come home, cutting grass, and the man wasn't cutting grass. It didn't make sense again. So finally, I never forget that. When Kim told me, I said, you know what? I will never cut another grass. And I didn't. So my son started cutting grass, but when I moved forward in life, I started becoming, oh, it's more to me than just being a wife, having kids, blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. And so I never forget, but I still felt I didn't feel that enough love, that enough connection. And I called Kim one day and I told my sister, I feel like I started always being sick. I was always a sick one. I look around at all my sisters, they all doing good, and I'm sick. My head, I'm just sick. Finally, I never forget, I called my sister Kim and I said, you guys, I need some prayer. And I was going to have her to meet me at my mom's house. And she called me back and said, Spirit told her to meet at my house. And we had a time of, we call back then, we'd lay on the table and he would take you back on your journey in life. 43 years old is one of, like Kim said, remember her as 5 years college. 43-year-olds is when I remember, that's when I began to live. I learned from that experience. And one of the songs was, It's So Easy to Love Me. When I got that within my heart, nobody could not tell me nothing at that point. It was just all selling from that point. Because that's when I realized life is only what you make it. So on jobs I was in different positions. I was no background education with them, but they just always said, well, you always can see it. You always have to be. I never get a doctor I work for right now. He always told me, he said, Demeter, it's just somebody. He always said this about all my sisters. He said, somebody, you and your sisters, y'all some special people. So he told me one day to go to school. I'm like, Doc, I'm not going to college. I'm not doing that. He said, no, this will benefit you. I said, no, couldn't do that. But this song is ringing in my ear. Oh, yeah, it's so easy to love you. Yeah, but that's not true, though. But yeah, it is true, though, And I'm like, what the world? I'll tell you about the later said when you say BS from Tony later. But anyway, I went on and took this class. I loved it. But it's all numbers. I love numbers. You can tell me a patient's phone number. I might not remember their name. I know their phone number. I can say it one time. I just know the numbers. I went and I took the class, and believe it or not, I was paid back for money I spent because I completed the course, got A. I completed medical billing. It's all numbers. I'm like, I'm not going to remember these numbers. Yes, they just make a rhyme. They have a rhythm, something with them. Yes. So it just, that just made a big thing to me. So as going on in life, that's why I always say I want to get with numbers, and I want to go, when I was doing a billing, which I still do today, and people say, well, how much is the total bill? And I just can add, and I would just go, and I'm thinking, oh, this was great. So to me, you just learn things as you're going, but you just didn't have, like other sisters have shared, you just didn't have that initiative where you had these necessary steps of what was taught or what was. We just went through life because this is what life was offered to us, and we thought that this is what it was. So now you understand whatever you want in life, you have to make those choices. It has to come from within your heart what you want. A lot of times we don't, like I said, they invested in themselves. We've done a lot of courses. We even done some here recently with Tony Robinson. And one of the things he always said, why I do a lot today, because I always tell my grandson, you're going to always know more than your grandma, your mom, your dad, because I don't ever want you to feel like you're just going through and never having any tools to work with. I send him things in the morning, take 3 deep breaths, relax here. I just try to make him be more aware so he don't have to wait till later in life to endure his journey. And so that's one of the things I really think about when I think this is so you can, even when he traveled, I take him places because we went down to Florida and back, but it's just so many places. My sister Rosalind and I went on a trip, and I'm telling you, I don't know, I think that's when her and I became like planners for vacation. We went to the Tulip Drive.
I love it.
And we just went down the road, and I'm thinking, this girl is something else. She just driving down the road, and I'm thinking, I ain't gonna go on no road by myself. Kim go. Well, I went with Kim. Kim, we gonna bust through the crowd. Wherever we gonna meet Kim get in the front. I already know that deal. So Rosalind, we going down there. It was the best day. Beautiful. I had a time of just talking with my sister Roz. I felt I got so connected with Roz. I think ever since then. We talk about trips. We go here, and we just have a trip. And I'm thinking, you just get in the car and go. That's what people do.
It's just because I want to. It's just because I want to. I think that's the life lesson. The life lesson, I would say that you say those life lessons because we were suppressed. I'm going to use
Mhm.
the word suppressed.
We were.
And so because we were so suppressed in
You didn't think I was in that
rituals
box.
and rules and conditioning. So I tell people, if you to kind of get an idea, if you think about the real sanctified Church of God in Christ, back they had all the rules, how they lived. I always tell people just put that on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be kind of how we were.
there.
So because there was this cult-like thinking that life was going to be this certain way, we cultivated our whole lifestyle to fit in the way this preconceived notion that someone had of how the world was going to be,
Mm-hmm.
and we were going to like uniformly all meet that. And hindsight, we were kids following our mother, so we didn't have any thoughts in it, but we were conditioned erroneously.
Mm-hmm.
And then those growing pains to find a connection back to my heart, which is why I have the 9-step process, welcome home to your heart, because I'll never forget what that process was like. So all of a sudden be aware of myself and who did I think I was compared to what I believed I had to be. And then I went to those 9 steps, and all of a sudden I came to a point in my life where I just enjoyed life, those moments that just made me have those aha, just took me away. And then life was meaningful, life was fulfilling, and life was then more activations of creativity falls on top of that. But when I think about life lessons, no matter what your family dynamics were, you start behaving in a manner based on our norm.
Mm-hmm.
And some people never break out of that norm.
Yes.
Never.
Yes.
So I say, even though I told somebody I was 36 before the light came on, I am grateful the light came on at 36. Than to see myself at 66 and still wondering, where can I find me? Is there a me inside of all this stuff? I've done life, but I've never lived. And so I'm honored to, and even right now, I was saying, I'm really using this mantra in 2021. I knew 2020 was a pivotal year, and I remember telling you I need 20 women to go through this year and see how their life is going to be. Concrete life you want in 2020, clarity, vision, purpose. And now as we go to 2021 is a year 5, a year of grace, which is why I say my mantra is my prosperity, my abundance comes with me with in massive ways with ease and grace. Because I'm using the energy of this year, grace, monumental growth. And I mean, I just think about anybody who's looking at this, well, I don't know how they lived like that, but if we made it on the other side of being snatched out of mainstream society at 11, I like to say I just turned 11 2 months prior. So I'm just 11 years old, early September, I just turned 11 6 weeks prior. And then I'm whisked off to people I never met, people I don't know. My mom didn't even know him. She just believed in this blind faith of living. This is the way. So it was no way I could not be conditioned and cultivated because everything supported a lifestyle.
It was almost like, we're living in a 1-bedroom house. We were in that 1-bedroom house. That's all we knew. And then you take us out of a 1-bedroom house and you put us in and bring us out, and we see all these other rooms. And then we see, okay, this is that. And then you take us out of this house and we see there's a whole new world.
There's a whole new block
down there. And so I remember when I was, because I was, like in my 30s, and people would say, do you remember this? I could not relate because I knew anybody who was my age that knew certain things, I didn't have no knowledge of that. You don't know them? No, you didn't know I'm done. You don't remember going to, no, we didn't go to the show. You don't remember this? No, I didn't know any of that. So you're playing, like you say, you're playing catch up. And like I said, I was always the kind of person to say, I gotta do this. And I remember people say, you bucked against rules. They say, I probably did. Somebody say do something, I would just say, I'm not doing it. If it didn't agree with me, I'm not doing it. And I remember even when I wanted to play women's semi-pro football. And the struggle we went up about playing football. Oh, you don't need to be playing football. But that was always a dream of mine to play football and bodybuild. And I had the opportunity to play football. I was not taking no for an answer. I'm going for the football. And I was the kind of person, whatever I say I'm putting myself out there with the results in my mind. I'm going to make it. I'm not going to fail at it. I'm going to make it. That's what I came out here to do, and which I did, was able to do that. But that's the thing that I noticed, that you were in this little room. And then when you
Yeah,
come out the
that's
room,
a
it's
good
like,
analogy. Just lived in the
whoa.
room.
And then you come out the room, and then you get out the house, it's like, whoa.
It's a whole block of houses.
You
Well,
know.
it's a whole doggone city.
And then it's like, where have I been that I didn't know this? Because you had that same little structure year in, year out, year in, year out. So that's when you find yourselves now. You're able to start experiencing this at a later age. I mean, like I said, I started at 40. 40 was my age when I started discovering these things. And now 20 years later, I'm still, developing and getting there. Whereas if I was 20, going from 20 to 40, you experiment each year.
There, yeah.
Now I'm 60 years old. People can say something to me like, "Do you notice?" Like, no. I told me if anything between from 70.
I just said
70
before 1985.
I say anything between 70 and 2000. You got me. I say now I tried to do a little something back in the 80s. It just didn't work. It was just too much for me because I'm trying to get out there and be with friends. It was too wild for me. It was too foreign. It's like I can't do this.
Yeah.
It becomes frightening.
That internal guilt.
Yeah, it's like it's too much.
Even the internal guilt, and then you not knowing, because I always say, okay, I'm like, I know God did not just make me to be on this world to either go to church or go out and party. There had to be something else I was born for.
Yeah.
I kept thinking, oh, we turn 18 and we can just go do what we want. I'm like, that just was dumb. Like, why would I do that? But even as I'm growing with my friends, and you gotta go out, you gotta drink, you gotta do all this stuff, I kept thinking, God, we just do stuff just because they say we just keep doing it.
Yeah.
I looked at the holidays like, somebody said let's celebrate Christmas, and we just kept doing it. How did they get millions and millions of people to do something? I would always just really think so much about things. I kept saying, I'll never get married because no one's gonna understand that I think about this stuff, that we just do stuff because people tell us.
It's the program.
And I didn't know myself, so it was like, but yeah, I was like trying to make sure I'm gonna tell my kids this, and sometimes they'll say something, I'm like, I didn't tell you that. I forgot to tell you that. That's just normal stuff you would think that we sort of just learn, that you think they don't, but it's like you still got. It was just crazy.
But I would
Very
say
crazy.
some takeaways from today is the amount of courage that we had to take on our lives.
Yep.
With the life lessons and the life deficits in our lives. Courage, and I say a place of acceptance. When I stopped beating myself up for not being,
that's it.
I just accepted it and know what I got to do to get where I want to go. And then just really, I think my whole goal is just to stay connected to my heart, what I desire, what I want to imagine. And so I think that's the greatest thing. So that was my mantra for this year. What can I imagine? What can I imagine my life to be? What can I imagine my life on the other side? What all this abundance, all this massive wealth, not just so that I can say I got stuff, because I was like, so we get all the money, now what? That didn't really
never been
bring
a stuff person.
It was never been a thing for us, because we live without things. So go get a bag of some sort.
A bag that defined us, or
A bag. You didn't try to get you that purse. I didn't carry a purse, so we went to school every day without a purse. So only carried a purse. I had menstrual cycles going on.
And I said, and my thing was always, nobody's gonna know what you have unless you tell them. Nobody's gonna know I got on a Gucci dress unless I tell them it's a Gucci dress.
So there's something you can tell by the design.
Well, I mean, now you can, but before then, you would just get it like, oh, this is a so and so design. It's like, I wouldn't know that if you hadn't told me. You know.
Yeah.
So by finding value in things, and I think that's one thing we were raised sort of too, because I would always say my mom and her siblings always found the value in their homes. They always talked about what they had because what they didn't have. So my home is this, and I was like, I don't want to find value in things because
I'm grateful my mom who had that, because I mean,
home. Oh no, don't get me wrong. We
I
didn't know then.
Side of the fence they was
I said they had that. I said, but I just didn't do one. I said, but it was like I didn't want to put that pressure on it. But it was you didn't see. I done seen some stuff, and it's like, no, let's keep driving, drive right on by.
But I think of mom being the oldest child and knowing the lifestyle that they lived, and not only did she elevate herself, but she really elevated all her siblings to have a quality life. I think of all of them.
Yes,
they all elevated. She set a bar for them, and that's why I say, even though we had, how our lives ended up going, that aspect was such a norm for her that she maintained that. But I look at, my life now, and I think about how I'm coming to learn life lessons, and I look at Shannon, who I think near and dear, like how am I influencing somebody when I get calls and they tell me, hey, this kid, and they to bring me that book, and I said, like, okay, God, I didn't have any biological children, but I'm making some impact on people.
And then Vache, one of my other mentees, called me to come to one of their anniversaries at church. I'm like, ah, they want me a part of them, and I just thought that so. And so I came, and she was like, oh, I'm so glad you came. You know, amidst the COVID and everything. I was like, who is these people here? We with Vache, and they was like, all right. And their mothers, just appreciate somebody investing in their child. And so I think even though mom just went from mother to being the elder and the minister and the head of the church, there were people in Canton that kind of gave us some direction, although very legislatively. They got to have rules. And so I was never like Trisha, like say I ain't gonna just do certain things, but there just came a point in my life and I realized, what I got all these rules for? What would life be like on the other side of the rules?
It's
and
hard
that's why I
trying
use
to
the
keep
phrase
rules.
rule breakers are the success makers. And so it was just a lot of weight.
Yes.
And so now
very
I welcome us all to living our lives on our own term. I'm glad we have sisterhood that we can share the highs and the lows, because sometimes it gets tough. I'll never forget how Tree saved me out of my house with all that stuff. I was going, because I was seeing so much. But I realized you need to build a team. Tell her, you that. How did you know I without a team? I don't know, girl. It was just churning, and I was going. I was just glad my thoughts had thoughts. So I said, what do you mean your thoughts had thoughts? I said, you thinking something, you say nothing that's helping you. So my thoughts had some thoughts that worked for me. And that was a beautiful thing, because that never happened in my life. And now I'm learning to embrace who I am. And as we talk about relationships and stuff now, I was like, what do I need for a relationship? I need somebody who can really appreciate the value of creativity, the beauty of creativity. That's what makes me feel validated. If I gotta be fighting with my thoughts and ways and trying to break it down, that ain't gonna go over real good at all. So one of my questions, I remember somebody asked me, what are your 3 things you want to have? So I'm like, first of all, I'm just gonna be curious, why the heck you doing this particular activity as you brought it up? But my number one question is, what are your practices that you do that make you become the best version? If you don't know what you're doing, why you do it, I'm kind of gonna be a hard time working with you, because I can't ever resume Groundhog Day living. I just don't know what my life will look like a year from now. You gotta have to, I'm stable now.
And that's why I like when I get up every morning, I read that thing that says, girl, you've done it again. You're raising the bar for all of us, and you're doing it so flawlessly. You have dreams and goals, that promises to yourself that you must keep, and you can count on yourself. And I'm a force to be reckoned with. I am majestic, and I don't shy away from it. And that, reading that every day, that saying and go, I empower myself with that. Yes, I know. I take care of myself. I don't let what I do get in the way of my health. Yes. I take care of myself. I am worthy, and I am this. And just when you saying those things, and when you finish, I am a queen. Oh yeah, that's who I am. And I love that, because that's what I live by in this season right here. That I have things and goals and stuff and dreams that I must fulfill. That I made to myself. And then the other that says there's a bold new world on the rise for all of us to have. And I'm the one, that beacon that lights that path. I will open the door. I'll be that one that be that leader to go and open this way up for everyone. So I'm really excited about it, because I know, like they say, that song says, I come a long way, baby.
It's a long way to go.
Way,
I like my saying, it's probably in there. I come a long way, but I'm still not where I'm going, or something.
And I like the guy who came on. He says, "You not behind, not ahead. You're just
where you're supposed to be,
right where you are."
So I'm glad to know these life lessons have been a journey, and I can honestly say today, I'm proud of who I've become. Yeah, I have some growth, but I focus on who I have become. And success is becoming the person I wanted to be, and honor who I said what I'm going to do for me. So now I'm working on some of my, what I call it, my peppering type me things. So my skin, my
That's
back.
why I try to get that bath and body thing. That was a whole new thing. Come out my mimosa. Get all of that body cream.
I got a whole lot of stuff where
you just got to use it, huh?
As I said, when you're lotion your body, you just gotta go.
But I get used to it. But now I just like you. I'm still working rituals and like my skin.
I really have to take care of my skin. I've never had to take care of my skin. It's always been totally fine. I look at my leg. What?
I'm like, oh,
Wait a minute,
is
is
that
that
skin
leg?
for
Get on my
60 for
leg.
real?
Yeah, so
Oh,
I
I
have
see.
not,
Because
I have not made
You
You
don't
I
see
was-
it. I
my
never
skin
saw
was
it happen
good. Oh,
gradually. I just
it's
looked down. I'm
You
like,
look down, it's right there.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we are now.
Yeah,
That's where we are now. So yeah, I love it. All right. Can you? Well, we thank you guys for joining us.
Another episode of Divas.
Detroit Divas.
Detroit
Again,
Divas.
stay
Sisters Point of
tuned.
View.
If you like
Sister's point
us,
of view.
hit the share button. Subscribe to us.
Thumbs
and,
up, thumbs up, thumbs up.
That's right. And we look forward to our next episode with you guys. Love you much.
Okay.